everybody. It's the Glen Kuiper Show. I'm Glen Kuiper right here on my YouTube channel. As we do once a month, we do a minor league update. And tonight is the night for that as we end the month of June, head into the month of July. We got our perfect guest for that. Kyle Haines, the Senior Director of Player Development for the San Francisco Giants, has been kind enough to join us for the next 45 minutes or so. Kyle, we really appreciate you stopping by and get us updated on what's going on in this Giants minor league system. But thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on. Happy to chat through some minor leaguers.
Yeah, I said, Kai, if anybody knows every minor leaguer and what they're all about in the Giants organization, it would be you. So you're the right man for our monthly update. But you know what? Before we're going to just run through the each team and maybe pinpoint a couple guys. I want to ask you about a couple guys from each team, and then I know you have some guys that you want to point out. It gives the fans a chance to see a name that maybe they can follow. And I know fans always enjoy hearing about the minor league system. But before we get to that, because we are heading into a ball game tonight, the Giants at the Diamondbacks. Giants made a move today. They put Casey Schmidt on the injured list, and they brought back Tyler Fitzgerald. And I wanted to just check with you on those two guys because I know you've had them for a long time. They've been in the system for a fair amount. So you know a lot about these guys. We saw what Tyler Fitzgerald can do at the big league level. We've also seen him really, really struggle this year. Kind of what's your viewpoint of what you've seen from Tyler last year? And then maybe what you weren't seeing from him this year, because I know you watch most of the big league games.
Yeah, I think the pros of Tyler are very apparent in stretches, and then the weaknesses are apparent in stretches. And he's an extremely streaky player. We've seen that through his minor league career, and I think we've seen that at the big league level too. And it's not until we can probably get him to a spot where the lows aren't so low and, that he'll ever, maximize that potential he's got. He's a plus runner. You see it all. I don't need to tell you every strength you got. You see it. But I think the one that really stands out is, throughout his career, even in the minor leagues, we saw when he's hot, he's real hot. It's almost like you want to watch his first at bat. And if he's barreling it up, leave him in there. And almost if he misses 3 pitches by 6 feet, you just want to hurry up and just pinch hit for him immediately because we know how the next 4 at bats are going to go.
Sure.
So I think that's part of kind of what has happened to Tyler. And right now I know he's back up, and I think as fast as he can get cold, he can also get hot and carry a team for a week. And we've seen it happen at every level, including the major leagues. And now that he's back up, maybe he got a little bit of a mental refresh, maybe got to work on some things outside the pressures of the big leagues, and can kind of become that, that player that can maybe carry a team in stretches.
Yeah, he was. You could tell he was mentally grinding. I mean, there's no question about it. And that it's tough to get going when you're mentally grinding, and you could just see it in his face. And so maybe, who knows? Maybe a week off, from the big league pressure. Maybe it helped him. I don't know. We'll find out. And then Casey Schmidt, I thought what we saw from Casey Schmidt, the last, 3 weeks to a month right before he got hurt. And he's going to be back soon. Bob Melvin said before the game, Kyle, that it's just sore yet. There's no broken bones, and he should be back a week from tonight. That is when I think he would be eligible to come back. But we saw the bat speed, and we saw just a little bit better plate discipline from Casey Schmidt. If he can keep doing that, do you think he can be an everyday player at the big league level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of just stinks that, while Chapman's out, now Schmidt is out, because I think in stretches, while nobody's going to replace Matt Chapman at third base, if there is somebody out there that can do it, it's probably Casey Schmidt. And, this was his time to really help us at third. But, I mean, the bat, especially at the minor league level, he showed the ability to be a very quality everyday player. When he was in the minor leagues, he was summoned to the big leagues to play shortstop, second base, and playing out of position. And I think it's just the day where so many of these young position players need an acclimation period to the big leagues. I mean, obviously, a player like a Juan Soto or some of those players don't need that. But most of the big leaguers are going to need some stretches to get going, and hopefully Casey could pull an Elliot Ramos for us here and become that hitter we were always envisioning and doing it every day.
All right, let's start in AAA. I'm going to ask you, like you said, about a couple guys that I'm curious about, and then you can let us know about some guys that maybe are playing well or maybe getting overlooked a little bit by the fans. But everybody wants to know about Bryce Eldridge. I know he's out right now. Tell us how long he's going to be out, and did you feel like he had, I don't want to say mastered because that's not the right word, but he had sort of got to the point in AA where he was ready to go offensively? And how's the defensive work coming with Eldridge? Because really that's probably the one thing that's maybe holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, I think if we think about it though, when the bat's ready, unfortunately the defense is going to have to be as ready as it can be at the same time. I shouldn't probably say that from my position, but at the end of the day, this guy has a chance to, obviously there'll probably be some growing pains when he first gets called up as the league adjusts to him, but he can do some things in stretches that are very dynamic, and it's at the plate. That's where the value is. And then at that time, we hope that the defense is at a serviceable spot where, he can make plays and also doesn't feel like he needs to have the world on his shoulders defensively either. Because if we put him there before the defense is ready, that it'll be our fault if he makes mistakes, not his. And I hope he realizes that. I think kind of working backwards here, the defense, it's a work in progress. It's always going to be a work in progress. I think he's probably better than what I saw Pete Alonso was in the minor leagues, and Pete's made himself into a serviceable first baseman. And I'm probably more optimistic at Bryce at the same age as I was Pete Alonso when he played on the Scottsdale Scorpions as a part of our fall league team. And, I think the bat it has a chance to grow into something special when he'll have to develop at the big league level too. I think they all do. But, injury wise, I don't know, maybe 3 to 4 weeks. That's what we're guessing right now. But he's young, so young people heal fast, but hamstrings can be weird too, where they can kind of linger around and not let you on the field when you think you're going to be ready.
And this is a guy that I'm very intrigued with, and I want to hear about his progress this year. We saw him in the big leagues last year for a while. It's Grant McCray. I mean, everybody talks about Luciano and Matos, and my personal opinion, Kyle, is I think Grant McCray may have more tools than both of those guys. And I'm not trying to compare them and who's better, who's worse, but I'm just talking about, just raw tools, power, speed, great defense. He's got a good arm. And he's having a nice year. He's playing every day. He's healthy. I know he homered last night for Sacramento. So the question is, the one thing that's holding him back, it seems like anyways, is he strikes out too much. And I know in spring training, there was a lot like, Grant, put the ball in play, bunt. You got this great speed, and I know he was working really hard at it. Is there any progress in that area with Grant McCray? Because I think if he could cut down on the strikeouts some, I think he could be an everyday player in the big leagues. And I mean, there's a ton of talent there.
Yeah. The bunting has been much better. But obviously that's only a skill you can use so many times before the corners are in so far. It's not an option. And they need to respect your ability to swing the bat for the bunt to be an option. Otherwise they're just kind of playing in on the corners. But the strikeouts are still an issue. It's still high. It's, similar to what it was last year. I think the next step for us is going to be, and I hate to bring up other players, but I've always been a big fan of Zach Neto with the Angels, who's kind of got bigger moves. He's skinnier. He's got some power before 2 strikes. And then with 2 strikes, he basically goes into a simplified approach early, very minimal strides and things. And I think that's something that we're going to have to do with Grant. Just because the standard 2-strike approach is causing too many, balls to not be in play where you can't use the speed. There's no avenue for a hole. It's still an issue, and it's one that's going to have to, be urgently addressed, because we have to see a change there. Because to your point, everything else is phenomenal. But if the ball's not going in play, you really can't use your tools. The last time I checked, at least. But yeah, he has a chance to be a much more well-rounded player than maybe almost everybody on our 40-man roster, if you think about it, where, the power, speed, defense, etc., bunt for a hit, power, just do a lot of different things.
And I listen, I mean, Giants fans, they have a sweet spot for Matos. There's no question about it. We've seen him do some good things at the big league level. We've also seen him struggle at the big league level. And he's down in AAA now. Kind of tell us where Matos is at. I always felt like Kyle, like he's a very talented kid. I thought there was some fundamentals in his game that needed to be tightened up. Is that happening? And is he close to being a regular in a big league lineup? Because I know a lot of Giants fans, I mean, they'd like to see him right now. But tell us kind of where he's at, because he's getting to play every day, which I have always felt like he needed a good 400 at bats in AAA yet, to maybe just kind of tighten his whole game up.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good move for us to get him more regular at bats. I know that the big league team probably needed him a little bit to serve that extra outfield role, but it's really good that we're getting those everyday at bats. There's a lot more development to be done. He's always been a guy almost the opposite of McRae, where he almost does not swing and miss. When he swings the bat, he's going to touch it. Now, some of that batted ball, we've worked on improving, just using the entire field. Is his path and is so choppy and steep that big league pitchers could almost pitch where they wanted to and get him to hit it to the third baseman or the shortstop. And then we were just basically praying that he would hit it between the third baseman and the shortstop so many times. And that's just not a good way to live at the big league level. But I think he's making some nice adjustments. He's spread his stance out. He's lowered his hands where we can get a little more, vertical swing angle and things like that through the middle of the field. So he can use the middle of the field much more and give himself a better chance for those batted balls to be hits. But doing that at the major league level, it's not fair to a player to ask them to go to the big leagues and then work on things or try new things out. They're in survival mode. They're just trying to stay and trying to help the team win. So maybe now that he's gotten 100, maybe give him another 100 at bats in the minors. Maybe it's skills that can transition for him a little easier and naturally to the big league level.
Last guy I want to ask you about, and then if you have anybody from Sacramento that you want to mention, but another name that Giants fans love to throw out there, and I've done it too. I'm guilty of it. Is Carson Whisenhunt. I always felt like he's had a nice amount of minor league innings. He's made that progress each year. And he seems to me, and I haven't seen him live pitch a lot, but he seems to me like he's about as ready for the big leagues as you're going to get. I know he struggled a little bit in June. He did pitch better last night. It looked like, anyways, his numbers. Is there anything else Whisenhunt needs to do before getting to the big leagues, or is he about as polished and ready for the big leagues as you're going to see from a AAA pitcher?
I think one is the stuff start to start waivers a little bit. He's capable of touching 97 with a fastball. He's capable of pitching at 91. Radar gun's not everything. I mean, this ball plays up a lot of life on it. Multiple great off-speed weapons. If he was needed in the big leagues, I would have no reservation that he would be able to help today. Is he going to be the best version of what he's capable of being? I think obviously he could use a little more seasoning, but he's definitely, somewhat ready, I guess you could say. And, the style of pitcher that he's capable of becoming, I think it was maybe, a few weeks ago that the days are running together for me, but I was at the game versus the Royals, and the local kid, Chris Bubik, faced us, who's had a phenomenal year. It kind of reminded me of the similar stuff and what Carson's capable of doing if he, grows right, learns, develops just how to set hitters up and put them away, etc. He's capable of doing a similar, having a similar year to what Bubik has done, similar stuff.
We're talking to Kyle Haines, the Senior Director of Player Development for the Giants. Anybody else that you want to mention in Sacramento? And we spent a little extra time on Sacramento simply because, that's one step away from the big leagues. And those are the names that we've certainly heard a lot about, and names that, you still may see in the big leagues this year with this team, fighting to get into the postseason. So anybody else you want to mention?
Yeah, I think kind of people forgot how fast he got to the big leagues and he's been hurt. But Wade Meckler, I think, should be on the radar at some point this year. Really, something we kind of need a little bit is high bat to ball, high singles hitter. He probably didn't have the power that other players have that we've mentioned, but he's kind of different profile-wise to what we have, where he just hit a lot of balls go in play when he's hitting. So lefty, high, good line drive bat. So just wanted to give him a little shout out. That
and I saw. I mean, he. I know you guys tried him at second base a little bit. How much infield is he playing? Because he obviously came up as an outfielder.
Yeah, he actually went to college to play second base, I think, and moved to the outfield at Oregon State. But yeah, I mean, it's rough. I mean, for an outfielder, he's a good second baseman, but for a second baseman, it's below average. But that's fine. We expected that. We put that on hold when Fitzgerald went back, just so Fitzy could play every single day.
Right.
And now that Fitzgerald's up, there might be a stretch to get him in there a little bit more. But it's more of a fill in at second base more than it is. He's going to anchor it down. He's not winning a Gold Glove there. I'll promise you that. But I think we could maybe make him into somebody who could survive on certain days there. If but it might take us a year, to be honest. It might take us a year to do that.
Kyle, one of our listeners wants to know about Trent Harris. I know he was in AA, had a great year last year, having a really good year this year. He got moved up. I want to say he may have had when he got to AAA, he may have had a bad outing or two, so his numbers are all out of whack. But I know you guys like him a lot. He's a little bit older, but he has put up terrific numbers the last couple of years, minus what he's done, a couple of weeks here in AAA.
Yeah, I actually went to his first two outings in AAA. I flew to Sugar Land, Texas to watch those live. Bryce was there too. So I wanted to go catch those guys early. But, Trent, I think at some point he'll be on the radar. The first couple outings in AAA were rough. Yeah, I think he was trying to do way too much, nibbled too much, got deep in counts. And the Pacific Coast League is not, for anyone unaware, the Pacific Coast League is not the league to pitch in if you're going to be behind in the count. Or try to just get hitters to chase on 3-2. So very advanced hitters, small strike zones, the wind's blowing out a lot. It's a tough place for pitchers. And that bit him really early. Lately he's been better, but the stuff's real. I mean, we're seeing mid-90s with multiple plus off-speed weapons. But he's going to have to attack the strike zone and be ahead in the count a little more if he's going to get, big league hitters out.
Kyle, let's slide down to AA Richmond. I know, at least record-wise, has not been a great year down there. I know the records is not necessarily the most important thing at the minor league level, but just looking at the numbers, and a guy that popped up for me was Braxton Roxby, who you got in the Taylor Rogers trade from Cincinnati. Tell us more about him. The numbers sort of jumped off the screen, but what can you tell us about Braxton Roxby?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess I'll tell you first. We just told him he's going to AAA about a half an hour ago. So
breaking news from Kyle Haines.
So I'll let the Glen Kuiper show gets to break the AA to AAA transfer.
Awesome. That's great.
So yeah, we just told him he's going to go from AA Richmond to AAA Sacramento. So we had an open roster spot there, so went ahead and made that move right after actually Fitzgerald went up. Then we knew we were for sure going to have a spot for him. He's been great, as you mentioned. The walks are low, and usually when you see guys that are throwing 95, 96 mile an hour sinkers, but the slider is his go-to pitch. It's a really plus slider. It's an uncomfortable at bat. and he's been in zone a lot. So between the lack of walks, ton of strikes with 2+ pitches, and especially the slider it's times been borderline unhittable.
Yeah.
That we felt like it was an opportunity for him to go to AAA and then face the same challenges that we just mentioned with Trent, where he's going to have to get ahead fast and stay ahead to put hitters away, or they'll get hurt. So one of the biggest adjustments for young pitchers that I've seen, I don't know how you feel, Glenn, you've seen it a long time, isn't so much the stuff as it is just getting ahead with strike one, strike two, and staying there so they can get the good hitters to chase their pitch. But the longer you let these guys in AAA or the big leagues, get to 3-1 counts, 2-0 counts, 2-1 counts, they're going to make you pay. But that'll be the next challenge for Braxton as well.
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, a couple of quality bullpen arms in AAA that are the real deal, maybe this year, but certainly into the future.
Absolutely. That's the hope, right? I mean, the one thing I think we've all learned is once you think you have too much pitching, you don't have any. You blink your eyes. So one of the goals we got to have is a steady pipeline of pitching coming up through the system, because you'll never have that pitching staff solved. You're always going to need pitching readily available.
We're talking to Kyle Haines, Senior Director of Player Development for the San Francisco Giants. Kyle's terrific. He's done it a long time. We appreciate him stopping by. We're just going through each of the Giants affiliates and talking about a handful of players. Let's go to High A Eugene. Looks like a good offensive team, some pretty good bats there. But we've talked a lot and heard a lot about Bo Davidson, the left-handed hitter, outfielder. Gosh, I don't even think he was drafted if I have read correctly. So you guys sort of found a diamond in the rough, but to me, it looks like he's been pretty consistent this year. He's held his offensive numbers and good numbers across the board. Tell us about this kid, Bo Davidson. Again, left-handed hitter, left-handed thrower, and from what I was told, a pretty decent outfielder. Maybe could stick in center field. What can you tell us about Davidson?
Yeah, Bo. I think he is the chance to be a 5-tool player. I mean, he is built like a good athlete. He's a good center fielder, left-handed bat, right-handed thrower, can really throw from the outfield as well. All areas of the outfield. He can run, he can throw. And then at the plate, it's hard to find strong physical guys that can hit doubles, triples, homers, who also don't strike out. There's a clear trade-off. And when you can find someone who also can control the at-bat and hit for average and power, extra bases, doubles, triples, homers, that's pretty rare in this game, and he's one of those players. And then to top it off, he's a very capable base stealer as well. So when you're talking about Bo, the one thing that comes to mind is he has the ability to just beat a team in so many different ways. There's really not one skill or tool that defines him as much as he's just capable of doing a little bit of everything.
What about the other outfielder there, Bandura, who was a draft pick of you guys? Yeah. I saw where he was just named the Northwest League Player of the Week, I believe. From what I've read and seen, it looks like a terrific athlete. I know he steals a ton of bases. What can you tell us about him? Another left-handed hitter, right?
Yeah, another left-handed hitter. The thing about him is his age, like it doesn't match his body. He looks like 16 or 17, body type. Like he's still thin, a late physically maturing player, very, tall, lean, athletic. I still think there's a lot of room to get stronger with Bandura there. But yeah, he gives you a good at bat. He knows the strike zone. A little bit of sneaky power for how slender the frame is, and some bat speed, but doesn't have the power of, say, like Bo Davidson has. But very plus athletic player. He can play center, but good problem to have is we have a lot of center fielders, so they got to play some corner outfield so Bo can play center. But Bandura is a phenomenal player, tall, lean, athletic player.
Kyle, anybody else at High Eugene to keep an eye on? I know you just moved up a starting pitcher, right, from San Jose, who was having a pretty good year for the San Jose Giants?
Yeah, Greg Ferrone, left-hander. We picked in last year's draft, fairly high. Big, strong. I think a lot of the if you anyone watched the spring breakout game this spring, he threw an inning in the spring breakout game. But a big 6'6", strong lefty, really good fastball. He'll run it up to 96 left-handed, but just a strong, durable lefty. The off speed's coming around, nice slider changeup mix. And he had a good year in San Jose, and we were able to get him to Eugene, and hopefully it takes off there. But yeah, excited to have that big, strong, left-handed starting pitching prospect there.
Well, Kyle, you guys got to be thrilled with what you're seeing in San Jose with the low A San Jose Giants. They're having a phenomenal year. I mean, I looked up their record. They're 49-26. Mm-hmm. I know they lead the league in runs scored. They've allowed, I think, the fewest runs. So there's a ton of talent there. So I want to throw some names out there and tell me about these guys because, boy, oh boy, there's highlights rolling out of San Jose seemingly every night. Tell us about the first baseman, Jacob Christian. Looks like a big, tall, right-handed hitter. He leads the Cal League in RBIs. He's third in home runs. Tell us about him. Is he a big league prospect? And I know I believe he played some outfield as well, but he's at first base now. What can you tell us about Jacob Christian?
Yeah. I think, first of all, I know we're going to probably get down to the rookie ball levels, but San Jose and our rookie ball teams, both in Arizona and the Dominican, have been arguably the story of our player development so far this year, all playing phenomenal as a team. And then also individually, just phenomenal to see the breakouts from some of these prospects this year. We've had some really interesting stories emerge from those groups, but in reference to Jacob, I think he was pretty sure he's West Coast Conference Player of the Year. Someone can fact check me. And that's a really good baseball conference, as everybody in the West knows. Phenomenal baseball, and he was the Player of the Year last year. We were excited to get him. He is playing some left field, right. He can play right field and playing first, but really good right center field power, which for a right-handed hitter, I don't know if that's the best thing to say for Oracle Park, but we do play half our games on the road though, so that's fine. But he does have really good right center ability to go right center field for doubles and for power to right center field and an occasional pull power as well. And hopefully he's growing into some approach and able to be that run producer for us, for years to come. But he's still a long ways away from the big leagues. But to your point, he can really drive in runs.
And a high school kid, Walker Martin, a very high pick, a shortstop. Christian was a college player. Walker Martin's a high school player. So there's always that significant age difference there. But Martin's got 10 home runs, up among the leaders in the California League. A big, strong left-handed hitter. It looks like he has found a little something this year after struggling last year. Tell us about Walker Martin.
Yeah, it's been an adjustment period for him coming from, small high school baseball to having to play professional baseball. It's not even 1 or 2 steps up. It's like 50 steps up from facing just high school pitching to facing professional pitching. On Walker in particular, I think he's really getting adjusted. I think he's always been a guy that's a plus athlete, who looks the part, who's going to need an adjustment period to pro ball. I think we're seeing him get better every month. For the folks out there who love more in-depth stats like on base and slugging, OPS, walk rates, he's phenomenal at all those numbers. Where he's been hurt a little bit is in the batting average category, just because of the inflated strikeouts. I've limited the batted balls in play, but he's improving every month. He's a double plus athlete, really good high school quarterback, left-handed bat, power, plus makeup. There's so much to like about Walker, and I know as he continues to play more, he'll continue to improve every month.
This is a name that I'm everybody's talking about, and you probably know who I'm getting to, but Dakota Jordan, the outfielder, center fielder, kid was a football player in college. I talked about him when we did the minor league report after the first month of the season. But I just looked at his number, and I'm basing things off numbers, and that's why I like talking to you, Kyle, because I can put with what you're saying with these numbers, but Jordan is second in the Cal League in RBIs, sixth in stolen bases, second in hits, seventh in batting average. And did I see he had 6 RBIs yesterday in a game? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah,
I mean,
he did. Yeah.
And just looking at him, I mean, he looks like a football running back. He's got that build, but I know you guys are super, super excited about this kid. Tell us about Dakota Jordan. And because to me, Kyle, it looks like he's stayed really consistent this year. He hasn't had like real big slumps, and he just keeps on putting up the numbers.
Yeah, it's been a fun development story, and I think so. Dakota was mocked as high as late first round in the drafts last year because of the tools. I mean, there was people basically throwing comps to like athlete wise, not I always tell people pump the brakes, but like Bo Jackson type comps on the athlete. And I'm like, well, Bo Jackson's one of a kind, so no one should ever get that. But he did go to Mississippi State out of high school to play football and baseball. So that's the type of athlete we're talking. Is he was going as a safety, I believe it was, or a cornerback one. But that's the type of athlete we're talking about. The huge positive news here is his strikeout rate from college to pro ball has actually dropped. And we're very proud of that because that's something that historically doesn't happen. Usually if you strike out a certain amount in college, you go to pro ball, you're going to strike out a lot more. And he's actually went the opposite direction. He's still powerful. We know there's more power in there. And as he gets more at bats, you've heard it, Glenn. Good hitters will learn how to hit for power later in their career. I mean, he's got like 9 home runs or something already, but there's even more in there. But he's got a knack for the RBI. And then also, he didn't steal bases very well in college, if you can believe that or not. And he's actually, to your point, stealing a lot of bases. So huge development in many regards, as sometimes just keeping guys the same stats from level to level, that's development in its own as you play against better players. But Dakota's actually drastically improved in some key areas, even from his college numbers to the pro numbers this year.
Kyle, can he stay in center field?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I mean, he played right field in college. They had a really good defensive center fielder. Was the story we got out there, but we put him in center, and all of our metrics have him as plus in center field so far this year, and I think he might even get better with more experience.
Sure. This is a guy I want to ask you about, Carlos Gutierrez. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know much about him, but all of a sudden you start looking at his numbers. He's hitting 351. That's second best in the Cal League. He's got a bunch of stolen bases as well. On base percentage, Kyle, of 445. He leads the league in hits. He leads the league in runs scored. Has this guy come out of nowhere a little bit? I know he's not a big power hitter. He's not a real big guy, left-handed hitter, but you can't hide from a 351 batting average.
Yeah. We've seen this from Carlos ever since we signed him. He played real quick in the DSL. Everybody can look at the baseball reference page. He only got a few at bats in the Arizona League, and he's hit ever since we got him. I mean, he's just got a natural nose to put the barrel on the ball. I've heard multiple people compare him to like Stephen Kwan from Cleveland, that type of player. I think we would be ecstatic with that outcome. But this guy, all he does is just get 2 hits every game, it feels like. And it's real. It's high contact. There's not a lot of strikeout and swing and miss here. The power, I think, will come around as he plays more. And he can run, too. He's a really good runner, good base stealer. And there's a lot of characteristics to like here. But he had some injuries his first couple years, so he's behind on a lot of at-bats. So it's just been good to get him out there and get, 5-6 games a week out of him.
We're talking to Kyle Haines, the Senior Director of Player Development for the San Francisco Giants. Couple of questions, actually. Kyle, I need to answer this one. It's from Daniel S. It says, Glenn, I love you're expanding the number of shows you do. How many are you going to do? Well, we're doing 2 live shows a week, Daniel, and then we're also, pumping out videos, which are not live shows. They're just a shorter videos are, maybe 8, 10, 12 minutes long. And sometimes we get some videos from the live show we did. We cut it up and send it out. And so, but you'll get 2 live shows every week. as best I can, unless I'm on vacation or something. But we try to work around the Giants' schedule a little bit, and the videos are great too. So we're going to keep pumping out content for you to check out. So Daniel, thank you. I appreciate you watching. So Kyle, here's what before we go to the players from the Arizona Complex League and the Dominican Summer League, I want you to explain to our viewers the difference between those two leagues. I know they're full of really, really young players, but what's the difference between the Dominican Summer League and the Arizona Complex League?
Yeah, no, I think the easiest way to describe it is in the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico, those players play high school baseball or go to the college and get drafted. You're probably more familiar with that. But for anyone not in those three nations, so Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Panama, Colombia, etc., there is no college or even high school programs. So we can sign internationally players at 16 years old, as young as 16. Some of them are 17 or 18. And basically the DSL is the Dominican Summer League for those international players. Most are between 16 and 19 years old. And that essentially is a bridge between a player who's signed at 16 and the Arizona League. So we sign a kid from Sarah High School in the Bay Area or St. Francis or somewhere, or we're De La Salle. They would go right to the Arizona Complex League right out of the draft. And then when an international player signs, they go right to the Dominican Summer League. And then from there, they're promoted to the Arizona League. So that's the big difference. I think that's the easiest way to describe it is it's kind of a, their version of high school or college for our international players.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. I know you're excited about what you got down there. Let's start with the Arizona Complex League, which it's 15 teams. There's one in Florida as well, same amount of teams. And geez, I looked at their record, 30-12. So you had mentioned it a little while ago between Eugene and San Jose and the Arizona Complex League and the Dominican Summer League, their records are ridiculous. Something's going right down there. So tell us about some of the players in this Arizona Complex League. I know the second baseman I saw in spring training, Level, not a big guy, but it looks like he can really hit. Tell us about Johnny Level, and I'm saying his name right, I think.
Yeah, you are. I mean, I could go on about this team all day, so I'll sum it up fast. But the development of this team has been phenomenal. The way they compete, it's a fun team to watch. But yeah, Johnny's been playing a lot of shortstop for us. I think if you squinted hard enough, you could see maybe some version of like Ozzie Albies with the Braves, and
that's who I thought when I saw him.
Maybe I don't want to go Raphael for a call, but like Ozzie Albies is probably one everyone's going to mention, but I think he's got a better chance to stay at shortstop than Albies had. So we'll see how that develops. So if he can stay at short, we got something there. If not, I have no doubt that he would be a phenomenal second baseman. Little man, but he's got power and speed.
And I know you said, and the Arizona Complex League is right there. So and that's where you are year round, Kyle. Kyle's at the complex down, the Papago complex down in Scottsdale. So you're seeing these guys every day, right?
Yeah, I kind of travel in about week increments. So I was just gone to Richmond for a week, and then now I'm back in Arizona for a week, and I'll watch them, and then I'll go to San Francisco for a week and then come back to Arizona. So yeah, gotcha. I definitely spend a lot, and that way it gives me a chance to be hands-on also with everybody from like Austin Barnes. We just signed yesterday. Yeah. He's in Arizona, as well as rehab players from the major league team when they're here, or hurt minor league players.
So this complex league team that the Giants have down in Arizona, I know you mentioned that it's got a ton of really good young pitchers, guys that are just putting up big numbers. Tell us about that pitching staff that you got down there in Arizona.
Yeah, I think everyone knows if you want a good team, pitching and defense starts it off. And I think when you point to those records of the teams that at our complex levels is the pitching staff, starting pitching in particular, has been really strong. I think some under the radar names. I mean, Arhentis Kayama, people have probably heard his name. He's been mentioned in prospect circles.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal. And then two guys that were really relievers recently that are now starting is Keener Martinez, a right-handed pitcher, and Luis De La Torre, a left-handed pitcher, and others as well. I don't want to shortchange the whole staff, deserves credit, but those three guys in particular really popped this year. And I mean, I've been told from rival scouts that they have the option what game to go to, and they want to go watch the Giants game because they know they're going to see legitimate pitching prospects out on the mound, and some of these other teams are rolling out, some dicey, sketchy command and stuff. But so it's kind of good to hear that we're kind of the place to be in the scouts' minds in Arizona because they want to see our pitching down here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the Dominican Summer League, you mentioned that the very, very young players that you sign. There's two Giants teams down there, right? An orange team and a black team. And their combined record, and I know you know this, but I think Giants fans need to know this. Those two teams' combined record is 31-8. So you think about that. And again, we're developing players, but good players are going to win games. They're going to win more games, right? So if you think about the success they're having in the Dominican, the success you're seeing at the Arizona Complex League, the success the San Jose Giants are having, and then even Eugene's having a good year. So it sounds to me like, is that simply where the strength of this organization is in the minor leagues at the lower levels, or is that shortchanging anything in the upper levels?
No, I think that's totally fair, and I think we've done a pretty dang good job. Obviously, it's been a thin group, but we've got a lot of homegrown players on our current roster. But with that becomes a thin part of the upper levels because, if you want a strong farm system, then, just don't promote anybody to the big leagues. But, instead of those guys hanging out in AA and AAA, they're on the big league roster. So that's no knock on our upper level players. I think we still have some players there, but the strength is definitely at the lower levels right now. And it takes some years for that to play out, but there's some pretty high upside there. And I know you mentioned like the DSL teams, but there's some high upside guys that we're going to hopefully hit on a few of those guys.
Hey, Kyle, so Buster takes over. He's in charge now of everything baseball related. Randy Wynn takes over in charge of the minor leagues. So you've worked with different bosses. You've worked with different regimes. Tell us some of the changes that Buster and Randy came in and wanted to make, because I know they had some ideas on things they may want to change from the minor league system. And can you expand on any of those changes? And do you see what their vision is for these changes?
Yeah, I think, without going too deep here, when Buster left his press conference, after he was announced, he actually called me. He was on the Bay Bridge, actually. That's how close he was, which maybe that's like 45 minutes to get on the Bay Bridge from the Oracle sometimes. But, he called me and, I've known Buster a long time, and he reiterated that we're doing so many good things in player development, and he was excited with working with not just me, the whole group. And then he, a month later or something, he came up to me and said, he wanted to bring in Randy. And I said, let's do it. I said, I know Randy, and let's make the strongest front office we can. And let's do it. And he did that. And, there's been changes a little bit, don't get me wrong, but I think the refreshing part, and I hope, obviously our followers and fans don't realize, like 20 some years ago, I signed with the Giants, and, the teams that won in the minor leagues, while that wasn't our goal, I was teammates with a lot of those guys that won the World Series, and the Giants are number one on my heart. And despite some changes in the front office, and we went outside and hired some people from the outside, we don't need to go through the names, but, I hired, we all hired Joe Panic and Ryan Vogelsong and Pat Burrell, Damon Miner, Mark Hallberg, the first base coach. Sure. These were all Garvin Alston and others. They were all minor league instructors under our player development. And Buster was around, Dave Righetti, Sean Dunstan's around. I can keep naming names, but at the heart of our player development philosophies has been, Giants baseball and the love that Buster has. And as him and Randy have come back into these roles, I think they realized our player development has had a lot of really good things in place, and that our heart's been in the right place for years, and that they're going to help contribute what they have to that as well.
Kyle, final question. It has to do with the draft, which comes up in a couple weeks, and I'm curious. You talked about the rosters and where the kids go to the complex down in Arizona, or do they go to Eugene? And my question is, when you have the draft and you pick, I don't know, 20 guys, whatever the number is, where do those 20 guys go? And, let's say 5 of them go to San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to let 5 San Jose players go then? Or what's the limit on roster size, and where do you put your drafted players, or how do you decide where they should go?
Yeah, there's an active roster limit in your entire minor leagues of 165 players. And
okay,
we are not full, as a disclaimer right now. So you can be under 165.
Okay.
And so basically, it's not necessarily a 1-for-1, but if you fill your 165 up, then you have a certain amount of time after you sign the player that you're going to have to make a move. It might be a 60-day IL. It might be a trade a player. It might be a release a player. So to your point, there'll have to be some movement there. When a player's drafted, unfortunately, with the draft being so late now, a lot of these players haven't touched a baseball since their last college game because they don't want to risk injury. So there is a build-up period that we'll do in Arizona for a few weeks, get them in shape, running shape, throwing shape, whatever. Get them some live pitching so they're not going in just straight cold turkey, and then we'll try to get some of them to San Jose, and they'll maybe finish there or in Arizona.
Okay. So it's not like it's not necessarily, hey, we drafted 20 guys, so we got to find spots for them. That means we got to get rid of 20 guys. That's not necessarily the way it works.
Not perfectly, but you're not far off. You're not far off. We have to find a way to get within that 165.
Sure.
So, and it's tight. And as a development person, it limits your ability to develop players because you're having to, cycle players in and out more, whereas some players develop later than others.
Hey, Kyle, I appreciate you stopping by. I really wanted to do this with you. Like I said, I try to do a once a month, a minor league update, and let people know some of the guys who are having good years and some of the guys to watch for. And I'm going to get down to a San Jose Giants game because I want to watch all these players that you're talking about. It looks like a fun team, but I really appreciate you stopping by, Kyle. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, everybody stops San Jose. It's a fun team to watch. They play hard too.
I am. I'm going to check it out. So Kyle Haines, the Senior Director of Player Development for the Giants, has been my guest. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show, the Glen Kuiper Show, All Giants. Remember, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and don't be afraid to throw me a comment or an email, and follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Kuiper, at Kuiper Baseball on X. So hit subscribe. Thanks for joining us, Kyle. You're awesome. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the night and see if the Giants can get a win tonight in Arizona. Have a good one, everybody.